Right now, there are roughly 14,000 active nuclear warheads spread across the globe. The initial blast wave is devastating, but the long-term aftermath is far worse. An all-out exchange would trigger a nuclear winter. Massive fires would send millions of tons of smoke and ash into the stratosphere, blotting out the sun for years. Global temperatures would plummet, causing widespread crop failures and mass starvation. To escape a threat of that magnitude, you have to look far away from major population centers. You look to the remote wind-swept plains of rural Kansas. Out here, buried beneath a monolithic dome of reinforced concrete, sit a pair of armored steel doors. Together, they weigh 16,000 pounds. This infographic cross-section shows exactly what those doors protect. Software engineer Larry Hall built a 15-story inverted skyscraper, plunging 174 feet underground. It is designed to sustain 75 elite residents through a 10-kiloton nuclear blast and keep them alive for years. Before we break down the engineering that made this possible, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our upcoming deep dives. During the Cold War, the U.S. government blasted 200-foot deep holes through solid limestone to house Atlas F intercontinental ballistic missiles. These massive concrete tubes were designed for one specific purpose: global destruction. Decades later, the missiles were long gone. The silos were decommissioned, filling with stagnant groundwater and toxic rust. When Hall bought his silo for $300,000, engineers hit an immediate roadblock. It was completely flooded with toxic groundwater. But that water acted as a structural support, balancing the Earth's immense weight. If crews drained it too fast, unbalanced pressure would crush the 9-foot-thick concrete walls, causing a catastrophic cave-in. They had to pump the water out inch by inch while bolting massive steel reinforcement rings to the interior. Hall's team faced an immediate logistical nightmare. Rather than build an upward into open air, they had to construct a 15-story skyscraper upside down, entirely confined within an existing concrete shell. Once the water was cleared, they encountered a much larger, invisible enemy: hydrostatic pressure. The surrounding earth, shifting shale, and groundwater cleave a continuous, crushing force against the cylinder. This diagram illustrates the problem. The red arrows represent the relentless hydrostatic pressure and sheer weight of the earth, aggressively pushing inward, threatening to cave the old silo in. Instead of patching the old walls, the civil engineering team built an entirely independent internal grid. This blue framework pushes back, using its own geometry to reinforce the space without relying on the deteriorating outer shell. They poured monolithic concrete up to 9 feet thick. To ensure the steel framework wouldn't succumb to underground moisture over the next few centuries, they bound it all together with specially formulated epoxy-coated rebar. The engineering baseline was unforgiving. The structure needed to withstand a 10-kiloton warhead detonating less than half a mile away. A blast of that magnitude sends a seismic shockwave tearing through the ground at over 2,000 miles per hour. That kind of kinetic energy will shatter standard rigid concrete into dust. The solution relies on mechanical separation. The new 15-story interior is entirely detached from the outer silo shell, functioning as a colossal shock absorber. Engineers suspended the entire living quarters on massive industrial springs. When a blast hits, the outer walls absorb the initial thermal and pressure impact, while the internal skyscraper safely flexes and sways. Surviving the initial blast is the easy part. As we move down into the residential levels from floor 4 to 10, the engineering shifts from physical protection to psychological preservation. Decades of studies show that humans trapped in underground isolation quickly fall victim to severe paranoia and depression. To combat this, engineers installed high-definition screens hooked to exterior cameras, acting as artificial windows. If the surface is a glowing wasteland, residents can swap the feed to a snowy pine forest or a calm beach. Space is the most valuable commodity down here. Every bathroom features a bidet, a decision driven by pure math. Storing a 5-year supply of toilet paper for 75 people would require dedicating an entire 1,800 square foot level to paper goods, wasting roughly $3 million. That saved space makes room for extreme amenities. Residents have access to an 82-degree computer-controlled saltwater pool, a 24-foot rock climbing wall, an indoor shooting range, and a full cinema. This opulence serves a strict functional purpose. In an environment of absolute isolation, mimicking a normal, highly comfortable surface life is a required psychological tool to prevent a localized collapse of society. Below the residential suites, the bottom mechanical levels house the systems required for indefinite off-grid autonomy. Instead of relying purely on stockpiled cans, these floors feature a closed-loop food web. Entire levels are dedicated to hydroponic gardens glowing under purple LEDs, alongside massive aquaculture tanks actively breeding tilapia. Keeping those systems running requires immense power redundancy. The facility draws on a combination of deep geothermal wells, a surface wind turbine, redundant battery banks, and backup diesel generators. They even installed a military-grade air filtration system capable of scrubbing nuclear, biological, and chemical threats. If a supervolcano like Yellowstone were to erupt, specialized pre-filters engage to physically separate heavy volcanic ash from the breathing air. These deep-level machines form a self-contained biosphere. The residents can generate their own water, food, and breathable air without ever interacting with the surface above. The buyers for these units are highly successful self-made professionals, doctors, lawyers, and engineers. It paid anywhere from $1.5 to $3 million for their half or full floor apartments. When the doors officially opened, every single unit was completely sold out. That massive demand immediately funded the construction of a second, even larger silo nearby. Creating a multi-year, closed-loop ecosystem hundreds of feet underground requires the same level of precise, self-sustaining mechanical planning as deploying a deep space station. Whether facing a plummeting climate, a failing grid, or a nuclear flash, this buried tower serves as a concrete testament to the primal human drive to survive. With enough ingenuity, we will always find a way to keep the lights on.